Behind the stone walls of Windsor Castle, where history weighs on every corridor, and every shadow feels like a memory, Prince William recently allowed a glimpse into his heart that startled even seasoned royal watchers. It was not in a palace communique, or an official speech, but during a conversation that carried the disarming candor of a confession. Sitting opposite Hollywood actor Eugene Levy, William admitted words that sliced through the veneer of protocol. "I miss my grandmother. I miss my grandfather." Those who have followed the royal family for years felt the chill in those words. For 3 years, the monarchy has existed without its towering figure, Queen Elizabeth II, a woman who was not only sovereign but a constant, unyielding anchor. For William, Windsor itself is now inseparable from her presence. Every stone, every horse path, every corner of the estate whispers of her. "For me, Windsor is her," William told Levy, a statement that carried not only grief, but also a recognition. The place where he now stands as heir is forever haunted by the grandmother who defined an era. And yet, the sorrow is compounded by something else. A grandson's grief is always private, but for William, grief is public currency. His admission was not just a whisper of loss, but a statement heavy with the knowledge that millions feel the absence of Elizabeth still. In his voice, one could hear the echo of a boy who once walked behind Diana's coffin, and now, decades later, walks behind the memory of another woman who defined his world. The prince's words cannot be separated from the brutal cascade of changes that 2024 brought. It was a year scarred by fear and illness. In March, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, stood before a camera and told the nation what no one expected to hear. She had been diagnosed with cancer. Her calm words could not conceal the shock. She spoke of her surgery, of the delicate balance of explaining the unexplainable to her 3 children, George, Charlotte, and Louis, and of the battle that lay ahead. In September, she announced that chemotherapy was complete. In January, remission was confirmed. A family, shaken, began to breathe again. But there was little time for relief. Only weeks later, King Charles himself revealed his own diagnosis, after a routine procedure uncovered a more sinister reality. For the prince, this was a double blow, his wife and his father, both stricken, both fighting. And so when William told Levy, 2024 was the hardest year I've ever had, it was no idle sentiment. It was the blunt truth of a man who stood at the center of duty and despair, bearing the weight of family, crown, and nation all at once. The heir spoke with quiet dignity, yet the pain seeped through. "Life is sent to test us," he said, acknowledging the trials not as random misfortunes, but as ordeals designed to shape. But for William, the test was more than personal. It was political, historical, existential. For the monarchy is never merely a family, it is an institution scrutinized under 1,000 unforgiving eyes. And those eyes do not see only the faithful heir. They see his fractured family, his estranged brother. The timing of William's words could not pass without speculation. For while he grieves his grandmother and tends to his father and wife, Harry remains across the ocean, his memoir spare still echoing like a thunderclap. In it, Harry accused his brother of rage, of violence, of cruelty. He accused unnamed royals of racism. He painted a childhood of coldness, where hugs were rare and affection absent. How bitter, then, that William, sitting in Windsor, the very symbol of Elizabeth's warmth to her nation, admitted that he still longs for her presence, while Harry once lamented that even she never embraced him. 2 brothers, shaped by the same grandmother, yet holding memories that could not be more different. For William, Windsor is a sanctuary of remembrance. For Harry, Windsor is a fortress of silence. One finds solace in tradition, the other found exile from it. This duality haunts the monarchy still. The reunion between Harry and King Charles, brief though it was, set tongues wagging about reconciliation. Yet William remains apart. Sources whisper that the heir's trust is shattered, that every public revelation from Montecito drives the wedge deeper. Even as William publicly holds back, his silence is read as fury. And here lies the cruel paradox. He misses his grandmother, but the memory of her unity only highlights the division between her grandsons. 4. William, this personal struggle is entwined with duty. He knows that one day, he will be King William V. The crown will be his, not by choice but by inheritance. And every confession, every rare moment of openness, is read not only as personal grief, but as a signal of how he will reign. That is why his admission, "I miss my grandmother," struck like lightning. It was not merely a grandson speaking. It was a future monarch revealing the human cost of change. Windsor Castle, where he spoke to Levi, was no accident. It was there Elizabeth spent her final years, surrounded by the estate she loved, with her horses, her dogs, her rituals. It was there that William as a boy had laughed with her, learned from her, absorbed the rhythms of duty. Now, as he walked the halls with Levi, he carried that invisible presence with him. His comment that guiding visitors was done in the way she'd want was not idle courtesy. It was an admission. He measures himself against her standard still. But where Elizabeth embodied constancy, William must embody adaptation. He faces a Britain fractured by politics, a world scarred by conflict, a family scarred by betrayal. He cannot be the same monarch she was. His reign will be tested from its first breath by questions of relevance, transparency, and survival. And yet, in his grief, in his longing, in his resilience, the public glimpses the man who may be strong enough to shoulder it. For if 2024 was the hardest year, it was also the crucible. He endured illness in his household. He endured whispers of division. He endured the shadow of Harry's book. And still, he stood at Windsor and spoke not of anger, not of blame, but of missing those who anchored him. In that admission lay something deeper, the recognition that memory itself can be a source of strength. And yet, one must ask, what would Elizabeth think, looking down on her grandson today? Would she see in him the same steel that carried her through crises of her own? Would she mourn the rift between her grandsons, or accept that unity is a dream too far gone? William, we can imagine, carries those questions like stones in his pocket, heavy but unspoken. The interview with Levi may have been light-hearted, wrapped in the guise of travel and culture, but its revelations were profound. A scooter ride through Windsor's quadrangle, a joke about personalized tours, these images were charming, almost playful. But beneath them was the tension of legacy. For Levi, a Canadian who grew up in a realm of Elizabeth's Commonwealth, the experience was extraordinary. For William, it was a reminder, the world still looks to Windsor, still looks to him, for reassurance that the crown endures. The palace itself has described the episodes as a window into the prince's life in Windsor. But perhaps they are more than that. They are a window into the monarchy's fragile present and uncertain future. A year of pain, a confession of longing, a glimpse of the man who will one day be king. And so we end where we began, with absence. With the empty chair at Windsor, the voice that no longer answers, the grandmother who defined a century. William misses her. The nation misses her. But in the shadow of that loss, a new monarch in waiting is being forged. Whether he can hold together what she so carefully maintained remains the question, and the test, of his destiny.